All right, good morning, folks. We're going to call this meeting to order. Uh, for terms of quorum, we have 3 of the 5 voting members. So quorum is established. And there we have Lori. So the first matter of business on the agenda is the minutes from last month's meeting. Carol had a note to make about those before we get to that.
Just that the copy that I sent you all at the top, it says MMHCA Board Meeting, and I added the word minutes, but it's not on your copy, but I'll put it on the official copy.
So do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the April meeting?
I motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Can I second my own minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I second.
All right. Call that vote. So everyone who votes to approve the meeting minutes, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. Aye. All those who vote no, please verbally say no or raise your hand now. All right. Appears that the motion passes. All 4. Next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. So I will throw things over to Kristen.
Okay. This month we had, the month of April, we had $2,840 in membership dues with renewals and new memberships. Our expenses included the lobbyist at $1,670, our admin assistant for $530. We had some minimal website updates with our new website at $225. Neon, $256, and Zoom for $93. So that put us at a 97.7% budget expense revenue. So we're in the black $64 this month. So our total year to date, we are still in the red or the negative $7,002.52. We do anticipate that May, we've had some additional renewals coming in, increase in memberships. So we're hoping that our revenue that month is a bit higher. That is all I have, I think.
Can I just say one quick thing?
Yes.
Well, one, I wonder if, well, I guess we're going to be posting these on the website, correct? The monthly budgets?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe we should.
Okay. And then I just wanted to just quick note that part of the reason that we're thousands in the red is for the first 5 months of the fiscal year, we were paying $4,900 for 2 positions that we don't have anymore. So we are actually doing really well money-wise without those expenses. So thank you.
Thank you for noting that, Carol. I meant to highlight our total revenue so far this year, and our year goes from July 1st through June 30th. So we have 2 more, just May and June left. And our revenue is $42,178. So that is, less than the salary we were paying. We would, if we had continued this year, we would definitely be doing much worse. We wouldn't have been able to sustain that. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Do we have any information on putting together the budget for next year?
We did discuss that budget. I think I had sent it out. It really, and we're operating within we have very minimal revenue. So we talked about increasing our revenue with membership benefits over time. I know right now we're doing those minimally as we're trying to do those all ourselves. But as we as I think the next board that gets elected, if we're on that board or whoever is on that board, hopefully part of that strategic planning, which I think we talked about, there would be efforts to build up committees that would allow us to sustain increased revenue. So I think to answer your question, we did discuss the budget. I'm forgetting if we finally approved that. Did we vote on that?
I don't believe we did.
I think we may not have had quorum. I did present it, talk about it. It really, as I said, we're covering just those handful of expenses every month. So that's been what we've been going on, nothing new. We are still the way to increase revenue is what we need to focus on, I think, to make sure the budget balances next year.
Makes sense. Can you send me a copy of that prospective budget? I think it might have been presented when I wasn't in the meeting because I was talking with Chuck.
Yes. Yep. I will send that. Yep. Go ahead, Karen.
I just wonder, since we have 3 minutes before Carson gets here, if I could just talk for a second about donations. People are wanting to make donations, and so we're working on getting that set up on the website. MMHCA is a 501c6, so if people donate, it is not tax deductible to the donor, at least not as a charitable contribution. Dues are deductible, and other expenses associated with membership. But when we put that on the website, we've also got a link to the information. So really grateful to people for considering that. It's helpful. I'm because the lobbyist is $1,700 a month now. Kristen, is that correct?
Close. It's 1,670. So essentially,
Okay. Thanks.
yes.
All right, and then okay. Sorry, I was just checking the notes as far as the 501c6 donations because I'd read that differently, but I see what you're saying now. Okay. Is there any other questions for Kristen? All right. So if that's the case, I guess I can start a little bit with my report while we're waiting for Carson. So,
Chris, if you want to, I've got a really short one, and I'd like to hear your whole report. I am working on drafting a letter that's going to go out to all the universities. We had made a list a year or so ago, and I have frantically looking for it. I think it's somewhere on my computer, but a mailing list. I want to update who are the contact people, and I want to put out a letter. I'd like to have it on MMHCA letterhead, and I'm wondering if I should wait until after the election to send it out more like July, August, saying, introducing MMHCA, this is what's available, and putting out the invitation that I would be more than willing to come and talk to their student group or a class or whatever. So that's what I'm kind of brainstorming right now with the bridging committee.
fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. And is there any other initiatives we can do? I'm still working on that presentation for introducing insurance concepts. Some things have come up which have delayed it, but I'm putting together the content now, and that might be something that's useful for them as well. So maybe we could think about providing that to the universities as well, in case that we can check with them if that would be useful for their curriculum.
Yeah, one of the things that would be nice in the letter is to give them possibly a list of some topics that we could cover, for them, and maybe offer that as something we can offer to the students, also introduce them to the video library, things like that.
Okay, fair enough. Any questions?
Should I be looking at having that done after the new board? Because I was shooting for like the first part of August, end of July, first part of August to get that letter out.
I think that makes sense, if not only because, it's the summer semester, and so,
Mhm.
some faculty might not be there, and there's probably not a ton of classes going on. So I think trying to align that with the beginning of the semester would make sense.
Mhm.
Or maybe right before or 2 weeks into the semester. So
Okay.
you're not hitting the super chaotic time.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, Kristen.
Oh, well, I was gonna say something similar, but I also noticed Carson is on, so I realized we should
Okay.
be shift. But I was gonna suggest too that waiting until maybe closer to the start of the new semester.
Okay. Larry?
Real quickly, you might want to try and get to them before the fall semester starts, because they're doing their planning usually in August for fall semesters. And if you wait till the semester starts, they have their curriculum set for the
Oh, okay.
semester. So you might want to try and sneak in like in late July, August,
Okay.
just so you're on their calendar.
Mhm. Well, I want to update the actual
Mhm.
head of the department or the head of their practicum services.
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lori. Hey, Carson, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Not too bad today. So, I understand you're here from now until 9:30, so I'll not mince words and I'll let you get started.
Perfect. So a couple updates for everyone, and I know I was able to connect with Carol, Lori, and Chris last week, which I think set a good agenda and a lot of items on the list to keep an eye out for moving forward. So actually, right now, what's going on as we speak is the May Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference, also called CREC. So there's one of these in January, and then in May. In January, it kind of goes through projections and forecast of what we think the state budget is going to look like, and then that kind of prompts the governor to release her executive recommendation. And then now in May, we have the budget office basically coming together, looking at sales tax, looking at our revenues, and then seeing how much money we actually have in our current coffers, and then that prompts the formulation of the budget with those actual updated numbers. So that's going on right now. That's kind of the next trigger point in the budget process. So after today, the House and the Senate will get together and start to figure out what their new targets are based on the information released today, and then that kind of gets the ball rolling on actually finalizing the budget. And on that point as well is I was able to meet with Representative Christine Morse on Wednesday of this week, and she is the House DHHS chair of the budget. And so we talked about a couple things. Again, she's very, very supportive of the Medicaid reimbursement for behavioral health. I talked to her about how important it is to make sure counselors and counseling is included in that. Again, she kind of gave the same feedback about the Senate kind of being the one that we really need to lean in on, and that's Senator Sylvia Santana. And Rep Morse actually has a friend who's an LLPC, so she completely understands the need to make sure counseling is included in those reimbursement codes, and the list of kind of approved professions for that pot of money. And then also she mentioned something, and I don't know the exact overlap that it would be, but she had kind of talked about one of her big priorities is this community violence intervention programs. And that's strictly kind of, it's aimed for grants to local units of government And it's kind of focused on the gun violence and firearm aspect of it. But she said there may be some partnerships that could be done at a local level to incorporate kind of the violence with behavioral and mental health, and maybe that can be added on as a potential service that's provided through these grants too. So there's a little bit more information and digging and research that we probably need to do on that. But it was an interesting kind of overlap that she had brought to our attention.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, no, mental health and behavioral health could be primary, interventions before violence happens. And so we can definitely be part of that.
Exactly. Yep. It's that intervention aspect of it, and prevention for that matter. Intervention and prevention kind of work hand in hand. So that was my update on kind of the budget side of things. A couple other points. I was able to talk with Rep. Rogers, and I told Chris and Carol about and Lori about this as well. Just making sure she's on a good understanding of the LLPC legislation, who is supportive, the organization that is supportive of it, and who that would be, and working through testimony and all that. She kind of just said she's wanting to move the policy bills, but they're just a big focus on the budget right now, and that this is definitely on the list of things that is easy, should be able to get done, and it's on her list to get moving. So we are continuing to work with Rep. Rogers on that, and then as well as a letter of support for Dr. Stephanie Burns for the Board of Counseling open seat, the counselor educator open seat as of right now. And then there were two terms or two seats that are potentially open in a month at the end of June of 2024. We believe that one for sure is not eligible for a reappointment and has kind of reached the maximum amount of terms. So I kind of gave the group here a homework task of, making sure we have a good list of potential applicants for that open seat, just as we've done in the past, and helping put forth good candidates. That's important because the board is where a lot of stuff can get done, and the rules and the promulgation of those. It's important to make sure there are people in those positions who know about the profession and want to protect it.
And to clarify, the one open seat sorry, Carol, I didn't see you had your hand raised. Okay. With the one that's not going to be open for reappointments, is that the counselor spot, or is that another counselor educator?
The one that is going to be open is just counselor.
Okay. And then Kristen, sorry, I saw you had your hand up as well.
Oh, thank you. I just had a question, Carson. Can you clarify what the expectations are or the qualifications are for that position? It seems like in the last time we had this conversation, I don't know, a year ago or so, there was an issue with somebody we recommended because was it because they were in private practice? Or I was trying to remember what the
Yes, good memory. And it all depends on what position they're applying for. So for that, if I remember correctly, I think they applied for actually the maybe a public member position. And then they were excluded from that because they had a vested interest in counseling and had a private practice, and therefore were not officially considered like a member of the public. They were technically, they'd be considered another professional. So there are certain qualifications based on which classified seat or board position you're applying for.
Okay, thank you.
And Carol?
Just a quick question, Carson. I was wondering if you could check for the counselor educator position that may be opening. if it can be a retired counselor educator or if it has to be a currently employed counselor educator.
That's a great question. I will do some research on that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the Board of Counseling seat? Okay.
And then lastly, just two other quick things that we had touched on, which are probably longer term plays. But I think they're two initiatives that are definitely worthwhile. One of them is overpayments and clawbacks and certain timeframes that are allowed. It was pretty alarming and eye-opening to see that, you know, other states have 20 months, 24 months, 36 months, 12 months, kind of statute of limitations, if you will. And here in Michigan, we have unlimited amount of time, a time frame that insurance companies could go back and do that. So that's something that is definitely worth looking at. Again, that's going up against some of those insurance companies, so that'll take some finessing and probably consolidation among all of the mental health professionals across the state to kind of step up and say, hey, we're lacking based on what other states in the country are doing. And then also, this is kind of my version of it, but looking at the issue around kind of the BetterHelps and the other platforms that are out there, I'm kind of calling it like the patient or what is it? The Telehealth Patient Privacy Protection Act or something along those lines. Kind of has a good ring to it, but making sure, number one, those engaged in those telehealth and virtual services, that they're actually getting proper care and are meeting with people who actually meet the threshold of being a professional. And then number two, and Chris has a whole bunch of good information on it, is around the data collection piece and what's being done with that data. So little scary to see some of the stuff that was out there about it, but that's a huge issue. So those are kind of two longer term plays, and specifically the data privacy protection and the protection of kind of virtual telehealth visits. I think there could be a lot of traction on that. And that'd be the whole kind of mental health professional group as well. So social workers, marriage family therapists, even psychologists have a collaboration with those groups.
And a related thing that I didn't bring up last week with you, Carson, but I can put on your radar now, is also like the use of AI in practices by, say, insurance companies for like utilization review or audits. Because I was thinking about that, like the other uses of AI that we could see happening that could be disastrous is, you know, AI is being set up to do your utilization review or to go through audits to find things that, you know, someone has does or does not have in their documentation, and basing audits off of those. Because I would assume that that would be something that they would love to do, as it would probably save them a lot of labor, and they could set the rules for it to where, you know, the AI is kind of primed to decline. And so that might also be something to get out in front of. So yeah.
Yeah, just generally, AI is a huge topic of conversation in Lansing. It's kind of weird because we want to use it where it may be beneficial, and then other times we're trying to rein it in. So, for example, there's money in the proposed money in the state budget, I think $5 million to try and figure out where the use of AI could improve governmental services. You know, whether that's Secretary of State, something through DHHS, whatever it may be. How can we streamline those services by using AI and utilizing it. And then on the flip side, there's legislation that's going through that is very, very restrictive of AI and deep fakes as it relates to political ads and elections and candidates. And, that's good reason. If you see a video of a presidential candidate saying something when they never actually said it, and it looks so real with the AI, I mean, that can influence elections and change people's minds, and obviously is very dangerous. So it's just very interesting to see right now how sometimes we want to use AI to our benefit where it can help, and then also other times where we acknowledge, hey, this is kind of scary. There may be some unintended consequences of kind of embracing it at this point.
Yeah, and I would agree. It can be a tool like any other, and like most tools, it could be misused. Is what it amounts to.
Person. So is that federal legislation that's in the works?
No, that's actually in the state of Michigan.
Wow, that's good. Really good to hear.
Yeah, and I think there are some. It gets tricky. I remember because I was following it just based on kind of pure curiosity. It's trying to pinpoint who actually created it, and have fines and punishment associated with the person who created it. And it gets tricky when you're trying to figure out, did a person spread it intentionally or not? Did a 15 or 16-year-old scrolling on, Twitter or X, and they like something that is a deep fake and is incorrect, or they retweet it not knowing, are they liable? And it just gets sticky, and how do you pinpoint that? And it's trying to nail down, like, first of all, who created it and what was the intent, and to not get teenagers in trouble for liking stuff or reposting stuff on social media.
That makes sense. All right, so I know it's about the end of your time. Do you have anything else that you wanted to bring up? I know we have a meeting set for next week as well, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct. The only other thing, this is just purely kind of FYI, there were rules that were filed for marriage and family therapists to allow them to expand their license renewal from 2 years to 3 years. And I believe that's what counselors have as well, is a 3-year renewal. So as well as some other behavioral health professions. So I think that was done just to put their profession and their board on par with the rest. But it caught my eye because the way it was filed, counselors were mentioned and counseling was mentioned in the rules because they were kind of amending that section where everyone's renewal is. So I was like, oh no, let's not open up the rules again, or what's going on here. And then realized it was just for them modifying their license renewal. So just wanted to flag that in case anyone saw the same thing I did and kind of thought the worst.
Do they need anything in terms of support for that, or does it seem like it's going to pass?
Oh, that'll pass. That's good to go. I think it was actually filed with the Great Seal.
Okay.
So yeah, they're good to go on that.
I was like, that might be an opportunity to extend olive branches if we wrote a letter of support for them. But all right.
All right. Well, sounds good.
Carson.
I hope everyone has a great weekend.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. So next would be my report. So there were a number of things that I was going to mention that basically came up in Carson's in terms of what we're working on an advocacy, legislative piece. One other thing that we're still looking at and need to talk with AMCA about is another presentation on the compact. Because I want to get some more information on that before we put out anything super publicly. And see where that's sitting. I can reach out to them. We haven't heard back from them since we sent an email out earlier this month. So they might have stuff going on. I know I think their conference was in the past few weeks. Or they had some event going on, so that might be holding things up, but I can reach out on that as well. And then, yeah, the Board of Counseling seats. So if people can assemble some candidates both for the counselor and counselor educator spot. We know one of those will open up, but the other one may or may not be reappointed. And people who fit that counseling spot are, practitioners with their master's levels. I don't think anyone with a doctorate, because I think that falls under counselor educator. So specifically people with their master's degree who we think would be a good addition to the board. And if we can get those together, if people can find suggestions by next meeting, that would be helpful. And then we can pass those on to the new board after the election as well, so that they can also have their say. Any comments or questions on that in terms of the Board of Counseling seats? Okay. So in terms of the election, voting is going to start this upcoming Monday on May 20th. So that announcement will go out and people will be able to vote. I believe we have people running for every position, which is excellent. And we'll all learn kind of more information about that on the 20th when the candidates' information is sent out. I see Joy is here. Joy, did you want to make a report at all, or are you good? You said
Only thing is renewals through mahakanow.com and not the old Mahaka site. Everything else is pretty much the same for membership right now.
Okay. Thank you. We have some workshops coming up soon. So there's one on Medicare. There's one setting up new practice, and looks like branding identity on a budget, which is an interesting one. And then one coming up on AI and the ethical and legal considerations in counseling. So excited to hear more about those. Oh, that was in my new business. Apologies. So we should be hearing more about those and getting more announcements in the near future. I'm also working on one of, insurance concepts that practitioners need to know. Now, there was one thing I wanted to, moving on to the second thing in new business, was the recognition of Elizabeth Teklinski for contributions, both in terms of the website, working on stationery. She's helped us with that in the past. She's been really wonderful in terms of that. And I'm hoping that she'll be working with the board for a long time to come. Either, I don't know if she's running or not, but maybe she is. Or in terms of some sort of future position, just because she's been doing all of this volunteer work for us, and it's been beautiful. It's really helped us kind of move forward. And so I wanted to voice my appreciation. I did want to see if anyone would want to motion to make some sort of official recognition or commendation for Elizabeth for the work that she's done. Kristen?
Sure, if I'm doing a motion, I would just like to kind of add on to what you're saying. I think that the website it was a huge gift, and it really helped us to be able to continue getting new membership and just separating more from some of the confusion. And I think her offerings of these workshops coming up, especially the Medicare one, is going to be really useful. I know it's something still a lot of people have questions about. So I think just her interest in helping in that way is really valuable. And moving forward with whoever is in the new board positions after the election, having volunteers outside of the elected board members is going to be vital and really important in moving MHCA forward and being able to create sustainable member benefits. And so I think whether that looks like committees, which I think is going to be a really important part, hopefully she might be interested in that also in the future. Oh,
Kristen?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that not only for her, but I think just as an invitation for others, to anybody who might be watching now or later, I think that's something that people have expressed being interested in. I know people have come to me about that. So I do think that, you know, we'll have to talk more about that, or the next board, we would encourage that conversation about strategic planning and getting more people involved. So that's it.
And there's a little bit of an add-on to that. You know, that was partially an intentional decision by the interim board to not expand into committees too much, and really leave that for the next duly elected board that's not an interim board. And so it's something that I think is going to be very important for the next board. But it was just something we all wanted to be very mindful about in terms of how much we put into place as an interim board. So if there are people that are interested in volunteering or acting, you know, as a committee chair or committee member, you know, reach out, because the new board needs that. It's integral to the functioning of the organization. All right. And then the last bit of new business is the supervisor survey, which I don't know who is going to present on that one. I didn't have a note on that. All right, so I'll turn it over to Carol.
Larry and I have been working on a survey, Chris, to survey the membership category of we have a membership category for supervisors and counselor educators, and we're actually going to send the survey to all members, just finding out what we can provide to them that would be helpful or useful or make their membership more valuable. So, and that will be going out within the next 1 to 3 days. So we're
Wonderful.
excited to get that information and start providing more for them.
Good, and that'll be something also useful for the next board, because they'll have that. They'll be armed with that information.
Yes. I do have one more new an update, just on some of our stats, if that's okay. Where May is has been a really good month. Actually, all the months have been good months for membership renewals and people joining. But in the first half of May so far, we've had 17 renewals and 19 brand new members. So already we've got 39 new members, and we're only halfway through the month. For comparison, in April, there were 17 renewals, 4 brand new members, and 25 new members, 25 membership, either renewals or new members for the entire month. So currently we're 14 memberships ahead of April at this point. In March, we had 40 total either renewed or new members. So one thing, we're doing those, you know, this has been Mental Health Awareness Month, and are sending out notes to people and just letting them know who we are and that we're trying to do good work and provide good services and that we're here and how to join, which is on mahakanow.org. It's the only safe way to join and become a member of this organization under this board. So it's mahakanow.org. I think that's all I have.
Carol, can you say a little bit about, I got a draft of a letter that we were going to send to AMCA about making sure that the memberships that came through AMCA, have we gotten any follow-up from that?
You know, that was an oversight on our part. So no, that letter just went out this week. Making sure that we know who joined through AMCA. With the unified dues, you can join through AMCA and get a reduced rate if you join both organizations. And just with all that's going on, it was an oversight on our part not to have them send us that information. So actually members are alerting us to that they're not in our system, and that's why. So we're working on getting that right now.
All right. Does anyone else have any things they'd like to comment on or bring up before we finish up? All right. Well, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
I second.
There we go.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. All of those in favor, verbally assent or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, verbally say nay or raise your hand. Motion to adjourn passes with what appeared to be 3 yeses and no nos. All right. Have a wonderful month, everyone. Take care of yourselves. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out.